We are still coming to you live from our Plus TV Africa studio right here in Lagos State, and all throughout the day we've been talking about updates of the Democracy Day special. Now joining me in our studio we have my co-anchor Maria Nukon. Good to have you join us.
I was hoping there was somebody else you were trying to
It's time.
It's
been quite a day, really.
Yeah,
Let me first of all say happy Inauguration Day, and you know.
Is it really a happy inauguration?
Oh, not inauguration, Democracy Day.
I'm just saying.
I don't know why inauguration
Why do
has
we
been in my mind.
attach happy to everything, even when we're not
we have
sure
to
if
celebrate
it's a
the little
happy?
successes. This is a step in the right direction. But so far, we've gone through going down memory lane, really what June 12 signifies and the lessons we're supposed to learn from it. Have we learned any? Well, that has also been part of the biggest questions that we've talked about. And looking at the life and times of MQ Abiola, it's just amazing. I wonder if the story would have still remained the same if he was alive today.
I don't know. Well, that will always be a big question mark. But I've been watching from, talking about what transpired before the elections, after the elections, the interim governments, the takeover, or the Abacha government, and where we are today. It's a lot of things have happened that has led us to this point. So, well, let's see how it goes.
And some conspicuously absent from our heads of state, and
there's no love lost between a lot of these government heads.
Putting sentiment aside, really.
Well, the truth is, we know what happened on Inauguration Day. There were empty seats. I don't think we would expect that something different would happen today. So I wasn't so optimistic about these heads of states. You know the ones we're talking about.
Yes.
We're going to be moving away from Abiola and talk about democracy in itself and what we practice in Nigeria, if it's really a democracy. And 20 years down the line, have we progressed, or have we retrogressed? Have we been able to learn anything and put to practice? There's a lot of lacuna there, whether we like it or not.
It's called the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That's the popular definition.
And the most important thing in all of those statements that you've made is the people. But in reality, are we the people prioritized in what we call a nascent democracy? We have guests in the studio. I'll be putting them on the hot seat to talk about this issue. So I can't wait. David, you've done a great job. So go have some coffee and some dumplings.
This is where we
draw the curtains on David. I'm taking over from now. So we'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us. Well, it's still Democracy Day. For those who call it happy, well, good. And for those who are still wondering what we have, welcome to the show. My name is Mary Anakun. I'm being joined in the studio this afternoon. Of course, we're still talking about the state of the nation. And I did say we're going to be looking at what we have in a country. 20 years, we're celebrating 20 years of democracy. And we're wondering to ourselves, did we, from 1999 till now, did we really practice a democratic system of government, or is it something else that we haven't been able to name yet? I have in the studio Yinka Odumaki. He is a National Publicity Secretary at Afenifere. It's good to have you join us again. Thank you so much. And of course, we have Jide Ologun. He's a legal practitioner. It's good to have you join us, Mr. Ologun. Thank you so much. So I'll start with Mr. Odumaki, because you represent Afenifere, and you released a statement, and I did hear you, like I told you off the camera, talking about this statement that was released, a sequel to former President Olusegun Obasanjo's Fulanization and issues of insecurity. You cannot talk about anything working well in a country when there is insecurity. I'll start with the fact that you called, Afenifere as a group called for the sack of service chiefs. Why did you ask for these service chiefs to be sacked?
Well, because they have not proved they're up to the task of securing and defending Nigeria. And the idea thing is that when people get to that level, you have to remove them out, you take other people in. Also, their continued state have also bring some demoralization in their forces, because there are cadres which are moved up. We are keeping them because we are keeping people who have left the system. So I said, look, we even generally thought that, well, perhaps maybe they're just kept this for election purpose. Now the election is over. Every day, there's only one day we open and to pass today. Oh, 10 killed there, 20 killed there, 25 killed there. And all this is no matter to us. Now, I was saying earlier, I don't know here elsewhere. Zimbabwe just had the national elections. 6 people died. They have an international inquiry on it. Emeka Yoku's on that panel. Here, hundreds, dozens, people are killed needlessly. So we believe that we need to rejig security system. Outside the question of the fact that we need to rearrange the entire security architecture, because there are fundamental issues wrong with our security architecture. You cannot police a country like Nigeria from Abuja. It's not possible. It's not going to work.
Well, recently the federal government, the president actually has said that there's going to be a reform of the police, and of course they've considered state policing.
Well, that's all these are still promises. The party set up. You know, you can see the excitement in land. When the committee read their report and it gives on response, immediately some people went out, oh, president approved state police. Before the national said, no, what's up? He has taken the report. He has asked another committee to go and do white paper in 3 months and come back to him. And look, why we are so skeptical, in 2014, when they launched APC, on their manifesto, they put it there, return Nigeria to federalism, which was interpreted to be that, oh, they're going to destruction Nigeria. When they go to power, what they say? That, well, they talk to 100 Nigerians, they've been getting 100 definitions of destruction, so they don't know what it means. When the agitation continued, they set up the Verify committee. The Verify committee came back. Its report was not different from what you are saying. To date, have you ever heard anything on it? So, some of us have become so skeptical that until you see concrete steps, it's like when the president say, oh, we need true federalism now. I say, well, fine. So what are you doing? June 12th today now. We're expecting them to have said, okay, oh, based on what I said last time, oh, we are going to do this. Am I going to do 2014 reports? Am I going to set up a panel? Am I going to send a bid to the National Assembly? No such things.
I'm going to come back to that. I'll put a pin on it because I'm going to ask questions about what Benifere has pushed for before now. Coming to you, Barrister Logo, you are an officer of the law, and looking at the state of the nation, democracy is all about the people, whether we like it or not. At every front, it is about the people. From 1999 to 2019, has it really been about the people? Have the people benefited anything in terms of the economy, security, infrastructure? Has it been about us? If yes, please tell us what it has been.
In terms of classification, I'll say yes. But who are the people that have benefited? The elite, the politicians, because they have amassed so much wealth. Some of them have investments abroad that probably can set up a whole community. They've taken so much from our treasury. I recall that towards the last election, probably not for the election, about 100 billion naira was released for construction of roads. And that minister is out of office now. Who accounts for that money? I know that 11 trillion naira has been expended on subsidy in the last 6 years in this country. I know that the First Lady came out to scream that $16 million was spent on mosquito net. In fact, she said that that money should be enough to fumigate the whole of Nigeria. 500 billion naira on social intervention. So when you talk about that, some people have benefited. But talking about the custodians of the sovereignty as enshrined in Section 14 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, the generality of the people, they have been impoverished. In fact, the level of poverty in Nigeria now is frightening.
So if it's not about the people, why are we still celebrating? Because as we speak, we're celebrating a democratic system of government. If it is not about the people, what are we doing? Why are we not speaking up? Yes, back to you, Afenifere. You're speaking now because a certain outgone president has spoken up about it. There have been so many ills in society. There's been a lot of money laundering, that monies have dug the ground and disappeared. There have been so many erring government officials, disobedience of the rule of law and court orders. Where was the Afenifere in all of this?
Well, first of all, when you say that you are celebrating.
No, because...
No. You see, it's like when religious sector groups today say we are fasting. Only, like my brother said, there are only categories of people who are fasting in Nigeria. You can afford to fast in Nigeria. Because for the ordinary people, they are fasting every day. So when you say they are fasting, they've been fasting before you fast. So, can you see any celebration when you look at the face of the people? Officialdom, yes. We have declared some celebration. But are they in a celebrative mood? The answer is no. So, then you earlier on, is it democracy? It's not democracy.
So what are we embracing?
It's civil rule.
And what does that mean?
A civil rule just that, well, you don't have direct military rule. But when you look at the conduct today, because you see, the major difference between military rule and civilian rule and civil rule is democracy. It's only one arm of government, National Assembly. Because when you have the military, you have the executive without judiciary. It's only the National Assembly that they prescribe. But today, we have a situation where, look at the last Senate. First time they went to carry the mace on occasion. The man who allegedly led the snatching of the mace is today the Deputy Senate President. On occasion, DSS stormed the place, guns everywhere, blah, blah, blah. So today now we can now say that, well, it's me appearing now that the legislation now has now come fully under the executive. So,
but you still have the PDP on the floor, whether you like it or not. There's a number of them on the floor who can always oppose and defend certain things.
But the truth of the matter is that one arm today controls 3 arms. So, in that kind of situation,
in your opinion, because every arm of government is as independent as the other.
In my very reasonable opinion.
Again, it's your opinion, and you have a right to.
Yes, I'm highly reasonable. So, okay. So clearly, there's a cause for worry in the country. Look, it was the people are not interested in the ideas in anybody's head or whatever word you use, whatever you call it. They want to see material moving their lives. They want to see their country moving forward. Are we? I was saying earlier, this morning, my brother called from Osun State. Oh, yes. Oh, some headmen, they are kidnapping people. They have taken some of my staff. They are military uniform. Is that the country? Where criminals can just take army uniform and go and stand on the road? So we have serious challenges. And we are still pretending about it. We are not addressing it.
And you didn't answer my question. What is the FNA?
That's what I'm saying.
What have you being in the forefront of fighting up until recently?
We have, right from beginning, we have been in the forefront of all this. Even in days of the military. Under Abacha, lately I heard Abacha said, well, you were shot on the streets for protecting the interest, the dignity of the Nigerian people are certain that that is done. We have always been for that, we are for that, and we continue to be for that. And there is no ill. The records are there. I mean, if you are not in digital internet now, just go and look for, just go on internet, search any issue of national importance that affect the rights of Nigerians, that affect the people of Nigeria, either they are Yoruba, they are Igbo, they are this, they are Hausa, anybody who are there, where you not find Afenveri's voice in terms of critical engagement.
Yes, your voice. Yeah. Is the voice of the people or groups of people enough to get the change that we deserve in this country? I'm coming to you, Dr. Barrister Logan. We pay a lot of lip service. With due respect to every Nigerian who's struggling for one kind of change or the other, we pay a lot of lip service to these things, and then we raise a lot of dust, and then of course we go back to sleep. So is that even enough if we are really trying to pick the words of Mr. Dumaki, move away from an ordinary civil rule and get the kind of democratic processes and dividends that we deserve as a people?
It's part of it. It's like when you are boiling water, it doesn't get to the boiling stage immediately. But we have a system of government that should be representative. Democracy has 4 brilliant pillars. We talk about justice, we talk about equity, you talk about freedom, and you talk about representation. Let's go to the representation aspect. We have 109 senators representing constituencies. We have 360 House of Reps members, not to talk about the House of Assembly members at the state level. We have ministries and departments. Let's talk about security. Today, while witnessing that colorful event, the Chief of Army Staff was there, the Chief of Naval Staff was there, the Chief of Air Staff was there, the Inspector General of Police was there. We have a Minister of Defense to coordinate them. So we have the ministries, we have the departments, we have the agencies, we have the aides, special assistants, senior special assistants, to get this job done. So why is the job not done? That is talking about the human capital. Let's talk about resources. The president himself admitted today that Nigeria has an abundant deposit of gas. In fact, we have the largest reserve of proven gas in Africa.
Of course. The
9th largest in the world. So why are we in poverty? Not to talk about our crude oil, even the byproducts of the crude oil we export to refine out there. Those ones are there. Now, let's go to agriculture. That was the mainstay of the economy in the early days when we have true federalism. Now, herdsmen are killing farmers. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So you are lifting a business mediocrely and destroying a vibrant business. It doesn't work that way. And we are talking about, see, global leaders have gathered here, but they will not invest here because we don't have a secured environment. The United States sent a message in respect of this event, and they are talking about security. My advice, let's go back to June 12th and link it up. You annulled an election, you've killed people, many have died, but the aspirations are still there. What have you achieved? Then why don't you sit back? And I'm advising this government now. Now it is expected that the National Assembly will cooperate with the executive. Fine. Why don't you go and study what happened in the US?
I like the word it is expected.
Let me bring a concept of the Great Society. The Great Society came up between 1963 and 1964. It was prompted by Johnson Leiden, JBL, the 36th president of the United States of America, who managed that country between 1963 and 1969. And that was when they spent so much on Vietnam War. Like, we are wasting resources on insurgency now and all this banditry. And the people said, no, let's mobilize these resources. Spend on national education, Medicare, public infrastructure, and the focus was to banish poverty and make life meaningful for the people. He was a Democrat. The Republican took it up. Do we have a national vision that will be the guiding roadmap for developing this country? We don't. And that creates room for regional interest promotion. So we keep on competing on the basis of dominating each other. And when you seek to dominate others through ignorance, you can only fail. So we are saying now that we know where we should be. And I have advised this morning too. The United Nations has simplified it. There's a document now, a project called the Sustainable Development Goals.
It has always
for countries of the world. You can key into it. Education, health sector, gender balance, decent society, work for the people.
We will get to that part because we're going to break down the state of the economy. Education, we have 11 million plus out of school children. We have a deplorable state of education. Let's not even go into our Medicare. We have none. So we will get to that part. But let's focus on this insecurity. Okay. Have we been able, we have 5 minutes, by the way, to wrap this segment up. Have we been able to get to the root cause of the problems that we have? Because most of them are communal clashes. Most of them are banditry. I mean, a lot of people didn't even know we had gold in Zamfara up until now. Let's talk about the herders and the fact that there's been a national silence, a still lip on this issue, from those who are supposed to address it. Yeah. How do we deal with this?
Yeah, you see, that's why, I chuckled when you mentioned clashes. Because there are some narratives that are being promoted by officialdom. When this headsman thing started, It was Fulani herdsmen, terrorism, and the rest of them. In fact, the Gatu Others were classified by the global terror interest as the 4th most dangerous terrorist group in the world. All of a sudden, officially they changed the language. They brought farmers, herders, clashes. What clashes? Somebody's carrying AK-47. Somebody has a cutlass on his farm. And the AK-47 is killing, and you say they are clashing. What clashes?
Well, there have been excuses made that, because of the rustlers who were killing their animals, so they had to defend themselves. I'm just saying.
Who gave the AK-47? Where's the license?
I didn't say
those who have license, small pistol, and they are using us now to submit them. Have they ever been made to recover all the AK-47? Don't tell me that, please. Somebody roaming cattle about the place. Who are forced to go and buy AK-47. Why? Who's giving the weapons? Why not been arrested? So there are clear issues. There is when General Danjuma went to Jalingo and made that declaration. He's not a frivolous man. Somebody has a level, he knows what he's saying. And that's why that's what defend himself, otherwise we kill one by one. There's complicity.
Barrister Logo, again, as a lawyer, I know that the courts cannot override the duty of law enforcement agencies. But what is being done? Because like I said earlier on, it's like a code of silence on this issue, and the numbers of people who are dying are on the increase. And before it used to be concentrated in an area, in a part of the country, but it's spreading all across the country, and people are screaming blue murder. But then it seems to be, somewhat of a back burner issue instead of being a bigger issue. And then we're out here saying pray for Sudan when we have our own problems at our doorsteps.
There are two pictures there. Yeah. It's either this government is satisfied and endorses the level of insecurity, or they are clueless and powerless in handling it, and either signify governance failure. I sat down, I looked at it. This insecurity started in a corner in the northern part of the country, is permeating the whole region, and is coming to the peaceful regions of the country. So by the time we succeed in making all the regions in this country insecure, where do we go? And you hear government aides telling people who are sincerely, passionately calling for interventions, telling them you can leave Nigeria. Who owns Nigeria? As you know, I declare here today, even when the colonialists came, they came with developmental offerings. Their brand offerings were, the first road that was constructed in Nigeria was around 1898, not by Nigerian government, by the Britons. The first motorable road was in 1906. The first power station, sir, was in Broad Street about 1898. Yeah. Who discovered oil in this country? Who started the education and everything that even trained us to begin to ask for political independence? And now we are bringing ignorant approach to businesses and crumbling down on other businesses. Where will the prosperity come from? And now it's so clear that this has become a threat to all. Whether you are in the National Assembly or you are in the executive, how do you explain that in the state of my amiable president, a district head was kidnapped? Until now, we don't know his whereabouts. So people are intimidated. Somebody said, to overrun a country, you first need to intimidate the people. We don't need intimidation in this country. Let me simplify this. If you look at Section 15 of our Constitution, it talks about national integration. We are divided now. We don't trust one another. You look at Section 16, it talks about the economic objectives. Do you know that the mandate of government is to provide adequate housing and affordable housing, adequate food, care for the unemployed, minimum living wage, and care for all citizens? Can we claim to have that?
Pastor Logan, we have to wrap it up.
We need to rise up and connect with the countries of the world that are making progress. We are destined to prosper, and any government that fails to deliver on that would have signed on the negative side of history.
All right.
whether we like it or not.
Barrister Jide Ologun and of course Mr. Yinka Odumaki, he's a doctor, National Publicity Secretary of Afenifere. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. It's been a very interesting conversation. I'm hoping that those who need to hear this are listening to us, because the time will come where they won't have a choice but to listen.
Sure.
Thank you very much for being here. We're still talking Democracy Day, yes, of course, and the state of the nation. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, more guests, and the conversation is just getting hotter.